Hello, I'm Rick Stivers of YoungMartin'sReels, and today's project is going to be this Pflueger Pelican. It is a model 120, and Chris contacted me, Chris Jenkins, I guess it's been about 6-8 months ago, and he had one of these things, and he was trying to figure out how this handle worked on this thing, how you're supposed to get it to work. He couldn't get it to stay on and stuff. And it really is a peculiar setup for a handle. If you've never dealt with one of these before, they're kind of a pain. Anyway, when I went to the lure and tackle show here in San Antonio back in September, a guy gave me this one. I had purchased some other stuff, and I saw this, and he said, "You like that?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Why don't you just go ahead and take it with you?" And I did. So I do appreciate that. And I got it home and realized what this was, and that this was the reel that Chris had been talking about. And I think he finally managed to get his back together, but I'm not positive that he really understood how it was working. So let's see. I'm going to blow this up, and let's see if we can get to this thing and see if we can get it all figured. Well, before we do that, let's back out a little bit, and let's go ahead and do a full operational check on this thing. And in full disclosure, I have just in the last half hour taking this thing apart so that I could see how to take it apart, how it works. There's your anti-reverse override. It works. You can drop that pin back in. Now you've got anti-reverse again. This is your drag back here on the back. It will slow this down. If you turn it to the on direction, which is counterclockwise, it tightens up the drag. Okay, this knob on the front does nothing for drag whatsoever. Okay. The bail trips. And the really interesting part about this is that the rotor does not oscillate. Or sorry, the spool does not oscillate, the rotor does. The rotor goes up and down, not the spool, which is very, very different from most other reels. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get started on this. I want to show you how this handle works first off. First off, this handle has got a knob on the end of it here that you can loosen and turn it around for shipping and storage. That allows you to set it in like that so it doesn't get damaged. That's a nice feature. Let's put it back to where I can actually use it now today. And if you look at this nut on here, you'll notice it's got a hole going through it. That hole goes all the way through from one side to the other, and we're going to deal with that in a little bit. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to unscrew this nut. And if you're looking straight down at the nut, it's going to screw in a clockwise direction. And as it screws in, notice that it's coming off of the handle. There we go. Handle is off. Now notice that the handle has got a slot cut in the end of it. See that? Like that. Okay, I hope I can turn it. There we go, so you can see it. Okay, there's a pin down inside of here. I don't know how well you can see it, but there is a pin in there, and that pin goes across that slot. Now what we're going to do is we have to take this nut and line it up with that pin. And then I'm going to take an ice pick, and I'm just going to push that pin all the way through to the other side and out the hole on the other side. Like that. Okay, pin is now out. Now we can remove the nut. The nut's got a shim washer on the inside of it, and there is another one on the back side. All right, we're going to set these over here to the side, keep them stacked up, and now we can go ahead and take this part off. And what we're going to do is remove these 3 screws. And then we can remove this side cover. Now you'll notice that the main gear in this reel is different from most of them because it's plastic. It's a plastic gear. And then you can take it out and see the back side of it. And here is your anti-reverse pin right here. And this is what happens when you pull this out and turn it. It just pulls that down so that it's not fitting into these holes right here. So that's your anti-reverse. We're going to set those off to the side. And we're going to come up to the, well, we're going to leave this on for a moment. What we want to do is go to the back first. And there's 2 tiny screws right here. And we're going to take those 2 tiny screws out. And they are not fun to put back in. If they were Phillips, they wouldn't be so bad, but they're not Phillips, so they have a tendency to want to flip sideways as you're trying to screw them back in. And we'll get to that when we get there. All right. Now, if you look down inside here, this is the drag mechanism. Okay, and as you rotate this counterclockwise, that's on. The more you rotate that, it's going to pull this block up tight, and it's attached to a spring down in there, and that spring is tightening on this shaft. Okay, we're going to go the opposite direction, and that will loosen that up and loosen it up on the spring. And I'm going to tell you right now, for most of you, you do not need to mess with this. I'm just showing you how it works so that you know what you've got in here. For most people, there's no need to be taking this apart any further than what I've already done right now. As a matter of fact, you want to keep a little bit of tension on that spring to help keep everything lined up. But now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this screw right here, and that screw is going to go all the way through. This is on the axle shaft, and that's connected at the front side. And we're going to unscrew that like so, and then take that round nut off, and that will allow us to pull out on the axle shaft, I believe. Yeah, that's Now I'm going to cheat this just a little bit. It doesn't want to let me grab hold of this tight enough, but I don't want to put anything in here that can mar the gears. So I'm going to use this wooden block, this handle. There we go. And we're going to unscrew that. Now with that off, I believe that might be just this tension that's on this. There we go. Yeah, it's still holding enough tension. Now that allows this gear to fall off. So you can take that out and clean it. That allows the axle shaft to come out, and the axle shaft can be pulled out the back side like that. Next thing I'm going to take off is going to be this nut right here, and you'd like to be able to take this all the way out. There may be a way to get this assembly out of here to be able to service inside here, but I haven't been able to figure out what it is without, and I don't want to take a chance on breaking it. So, I mean, when somebody gifts you something, you certainly don't want, it'd be one thing if I'd gone out and spent my own money and bought this thing, but since somebody gifted it to me, I kind of feel an obligation to take care of it. Okay, the rotor comes off at that point, and it's spring loaded, and that is as far besides taking this apart as I have been able to do it. Okay, now the way that you can take this out, I'm going to go ahead and do it so you can see it. And there is a spring at the end. It's a little spring clip right here at the end of the knurl nut. And I'm going to take that off and set it over to the side. And that's actually the wrong one. I put the wrong one back in there last time that I was in here. I'm going to blow this up so you can see it. And now we're going to turn this in a clockwise direction, which is going to unscrew it from that metal block and allow it to come out. Now the metal block comes out, and if you look, see that it's cut? Well, that cutout fits behind the spring when we set it in there. So we'll do that in a little bit, putting it back. And then once that's done, this assembly will come out. And there you go. Now if you look down inside there, you'll see that there's 5 different holes. So you could actually adjust the tension on this thing. If you couldn't get enough action out of this spring, you could actually tighten it up more and more by shifting it into other positions. I don't think that's necessary. I think one position is quite sufficient. Okay, and that spring comes off of there, and that's all there is to that. So that is as far apart as I can take this, except for the rotor. I think Chris asked if I'd take the rotor apart, and I'm probably going to do that as well. But for now, that's got this part of it done, and we're ready to start putting it back together. All right, I thought I was done taking this thing apart, but then I got to really looking down inside. I don't know if you can see adequately down inside there, but there's actually a nut down inside there that is they call it like a spanner or a spline. It's got two pieces cut in it, and I'm going to try to use this socket to see if I can make the piece to go in there. Trying to see if this socket goes down far enough or if it's hitting before it gets there. It's very close. Very close. Okay, first off, I made this tool, and I don't know how well you can see that. I took a socket and ground away the sides and left those 2 points. And those 2 points are going to lock into this ring down here. And what I did to lock this in place is I took a rag and stuffed it in there and then jammed a screwdriver down in there so that when this would go down inside, I could hold that locked in place and hopefully unscrew this. And I believe that's what I've managed to do. Okay, there's the ring. I managed to unscrew it. And now, hopefully, yes, now we can take this out. And I'll grant you, most people are not going to have what they need to do this. But I did have it, and the reason that I had it is I've got a bunch of old sockets laying around from yard sales and stuff, so I don't mind taking a socket and grinding it down to make a specialty tool. Okay, and with that done now, let's see here. I got this at, it's just a bushing. So that took this piece out, and it does not look like that's going to want to come off of there. So we're going to go to this end, and if you look, there is a spring wire clip on this end of this, and we're going to blow this up. And granted, this is not something most of you are going to want to take apart. I'll just leave it alone. As long as it's turning freely and it doesn't have a lot of grit in it, there's no reason. Okay? I'm taking it apart because somebody out there may very well have taken one apart and need to know how to get it back together. Okay? Now, there we go. It's got that spring out. And hopefully, oh yeah, it unscrews. Okay. That allows this another nut to unscrew. And now we can take this now, Chris, I'm really glad I didn't force that plastic piece out, because it does not come out by snapping in and out. There's our pinion. All right. I don't know what you saw there, but okay, with this assembly out, I didn't show you, but this wire spring right here fits inside there, and it's going to snap around and go into this. And we're going to put that back in a few minutes, but for the moment, we're going to leave it off, and we put it back. Okay, now the way this comes apart, just slid out of there, and we've got the shim washer here that slides up inside the hole here. All right, and then this end piece here unscrews off of here, and that allows us to set how much free play there is in this, if any. Okay, there's that piece. Then there's this plastic piece, which, Chris, I'm glad I didn't try to force that out of there, because, hey, it wouldn't come out like that, and it would have broken. And there's a spacer washer here, and then this entire pinion gear comes off the backside. All right, and this basically dismantles it except for the rotor. So let's go ahead, wipe it off real quick, and we're going to go about putting it all back together again. And we're going to do that with a little bit of super lube, and we'll reassemble all this. And it's actually quite a neat, I mean, talk about thinking outside the box. That's exactly what they did here. Nothing here is normal that you see inside other people's reels. This is definitely outside the box kind of thinking. Was it good thinking? I don't know, but it was definitely outside the box. Okay, we're going to put some lube on the axle shaft here, and then we're going to slide the pinion back onto it. Okay, and the pinion has got the shim still on it. We're going to take this little bit of grease that's smeared off here, put that back here on the pinion, like so. Now, I'm going to blow this up a little bit, and hopefully I can keep it in focus where we need to be. Okay, next goes this spacer right here. Then goes this plastic piece, and this is the piece I could have broken if I wasn't careful and stopped when I did. I almost broke it thinking it was a piece that snapped onto this axle. And it wouldn't be the first reel that I had ruined that way. But, all right, I was on the phone with Chris at the time, and he advised against using any more force, and I heeded his caution, and I'm glad I did. Let's get this old grease out of here. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to tighten this down until it's kind of snug on there. And then, see this hole? We're going to look at that hole and see where it lines up with one of these slots. Because these slots right here are with the spring. Let's see. See that hole? We're going to line that up with one of these 4 slots. So we're going to unscrew this. See, we've got to tighten down as far as it will go. And without really cranking on it, we can't get to that hole. So we're going to back it up to the next available hole, which is going to be that one. And now we've got this spring clip. And we're going to take this spring and we're going to insert it into that hole, which allows it to come all the way down and go into there. And then we just slide it around, and it's going to fall into that groove. Okay, that locks this into place so that it can't unscrew. Okay, this is lubricated now. Everything's good. Let's add a little oil here where this is going to turn. And I think at that point, we are ready to start putting this back inside of the case. So we'll slide this up inside like so. And we've got to line this plastic piece up in here so that it's not just flopping around. There we go. And now we're going to take our barrel nut with our 2 grooves cut in it. We're going to slide that down inside here. And where is our specialty made socket? There it is. We're going to slide that down. And that should allow us to start screwing that on. It's starting? Can't hardly tell. Yes, it's starting. Now, I don't think we need to be overly carried away with trying to tighten that, because when all the rest of this goes on here, I think it's going to hold it in place just fine. Okay? I can feel a little bit of drag here where this plastic piece is rubbing on the body. So let's go ahead and grease that on both sides so that when this slides in and out, there's grease there. At that point, I think that we are ready to set the rotor back in place with this spring. So put our big spring in here, set our rotor in place, make sure that spring goes up inside the cup, And then that piece goes down inside there like so. And come down here and push up just slightly on the axle shaft, and that'll move it forward, and we can put that big nut back on. Okay. Okay, and we'll snug that down. There we go. See, that's that spring load. That spring's gonna kind of help push that out. I believe the next part we're going to want to put in is going to be our drag spring, our drag and our spring. We're going to set this down in here, and we're going to set it up so that the spring goes in the hole, and we're going to set it on the one that goes to the furthest back here to the left as possible. If I can get it to go in. First time I did this, it went right in the hole. Okay, well, let's try it this way. Let's take that out. Let's put the spring in first. And get it to go down in the hole. And bring this around. There we go. Now we can slip this piece in. Okay, notice the wide bar right here. See that bar? That bar has to go into that slot right there. That done, we're going to come back, and now this bar here, I think I might have that one tooth over too far on the holes. Let me see here. Yeah, I think we're going to pull that back out and move it over a hole. I think it's too tight in that last hole. So I think we're going to pull it out and move it over one hole. There we go. Yeah, that's the way it was at. That's where it was when I took it out. Okay, we're going to set this back in. Yeah, that's much better fit. Okay. Now, this piece has got to go in with that little slot behind the spring. The easy way to do that is just go ahead and take a screwdriver, hook it in behind that, ever so slightly, and just set that block in there like that. Now you have to hold it in place until you can put this screw in. So put the screw in, it goes into the block and then turns counterclockwise to start screwing in. Like that. Once you got that done, you're ready to go ahead and put in your spring clip into this groove right here. I don't know if you can see it yet. Let's blow this up. Okay. We're going to put this spring clip into that groove right there. Okay. Now this is ready except for putting the cover and the two screws back on. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's as far as we're going to take that at the moment. Sorry. Okay. Now we're ready to put the axle shaft back in. So we'll come back over here. Here's our axle shaft. Now, the part with the slot up here, let's back this out again so you can see. Part with the slot up here that's for the spool to fit into. Okay, see the pin inside the spool? Well, that's what this slot is going to fit into. Or we're going to fit into that slot like that. Okay, but this other end now is going to slide through here. Let's go ahead and oil it. let's get that slid in to the pinion. There we go. And now this gear goes in here like that. And now you have to kind of hold it in place and wiggle it around to get the threads to come through. See how the threads have popped in? Like that. Okay, then we got to get that to go inside the other piece. And if you look up in there, yeah, there we go. Got it to go in there. But now this piece here is not wanting to fit in, so we have to rotate the axle shaft until we get it to go into that assembly, like that. With that done, we can set this block back in here, and let's screw this down. Just snug it up is all it needs. It doesn't need to be cranked down. All right. That done, we can go ahead and put our rotor on. Like that. And let's lift up on it some and put this on. If you try to tighten this or put it on with that all the way down, you'll never get it to go on. Okay, now that's tight. Let's go ahead and turn our drag to on. That created a lot more tension. Okay, turn it on some more. Now we can really crank that down. Okay, and let's loosen this back up. All right. At that point, we're ready to put this back on. Well, let's go ahead and, now that we've tightened down the drag, let's go ahead and tighten that nut a little bit. And now let's set this back in. And I don't know how long this is going to take. We'll probably go to high speed fast forward because these little screws are a bear. All right, now this gear appears to be nylon, and it looks like they just oiled it. And what I'm going to do, tell you what, let me clean it real quick. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little super lube on it. And I don't really know that it needs it. I've been told that plastic gears do not need to be lubricated, but I'm going to put some in there anyway. All right, now we're going to be riding plastic on plastic. Now, in order to install this, all you have to do is get that post right there to fit into this round groove right here. So we're going to set that in there. Get it to go and make sure that it meshes with the gear up here. Then we're going to come back, oil this shaft, and let's put the side plate on. Then comes this strange handle, getting it back on. Now this spring, it's a spring washer. I'm going to put it on, and it's going to hold tension against this so that the pin can't just fall out. So what we're going to do, we're going to slide this on first, and then if you look, it's got a spring, and what we're going to be able to do is push this down against that spring. Okay, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's ever so slightly we're pushing down against that spring. And then next goes this shim washer. Let's get that down in there. And with that done, now we have to line up that hole with the hole in the shaft. And we just happen to be right on the money right there. So what I'm going to do is, while holding down on this cap, I'm going to insert this back into that hole, slide it in, and make sure that it goes all the way in like that and it's not hanging out the hole on the other side. With that done, we can align these two slots with that pin like this, and then screw down the nut. If you try screwing the handle onto the reel instead of the nut onto the handle, it will not work. There you go. There you have the Pflueger Pelican 1020 reel. And it's really a nice little reel. It's just really, really weird. The bail trips nicely, so we're going to leave that alone. I'm not going to take that apart. I think we've taken this reel apart enough today. And we're going to oil the bail. Got a ball on the end of it over here, so we'll give that a little bit of lube. And let's trip it. And there we go. Activate the override. There you go. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Tell me what you didn't like about the video. For now, that's Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels, signing out.